Set in the 18th century English countryside, a teenage girl goes to live with her grandmother after her sister is killed by wolves. Sound cool? Because I'm here to talk about The Company of Wolves from 1984. So, The Company of Wolves was directed by Neil Jordan, a fairly successful Irish director and writer. He also co-wrote this with a few other writers. It stars Sarah Patterson, David Warner, and fucking Angela Lansbury. Dude, remember Murder, She Wrote? Oh my god. I'd classify this as a folk horror film, but I'd also put it kind of next to the fantasy category. And to me, it plays out like an anthology, even if it really isn't one. It's got numerous storylines kind of running next to each other, and many are stories, so they kind of give it a fairy tale-esque vibe. And it definitely pays homage to Little Red Riding Hood and stuff like that. And if the cover and name of the film itself doesn't give it away, the running theme here is werewolves. And I'm a sucker for werewolf movies, so I generally have to kind of take what I can get, right? This one overall isn't really my cup of tea, but it's a well-made film. Solid writing and acting, very competent direction, good costumes and set pieces. And in fact, it was nominated for numerous awards involving set design, costumes, special effects, and it even won a few. So the story centers around Rosaline, a teen girl, as I stated in the beginning, played by Sarah Patterson. It's the 18th century, and she lives with her parents and her younger sister Alice, who is killed by a pack of wolves. So she then goes to stay for a while with her grandmother, who's played by Angela Lansbury, while her parents grieve and stuff like that. I mean, this film, at this point, it's a bit of a cult classic, and I can't help but wonder if it influenced, other, later movies that I like, stuff like Ginger Snaps, or one of my personal favorites, Trick or Treat. I would definitely call this gothic horror, which could easily have been a Hammer film had Hammer continued throughout the 80s. And you could also put this next to folk horror stuff, maybe like Eyes of Fire, which is a film that I reviewed here a few months ago. Check that one out if you haven't. Really cool movie. And it's not a particularly scary movie, but it does have some morbid moments with some pretty decent gore. The practical effects are also solid. That said, the werewolf transformation scenes don't quite compete with classics like The Howling or An American Werewolf in London just 3 years earlier. I mean, it was working with a $2 million budget compared to the $10 million that American Werewolf had, but The Howling, and I just learned this today, The Howling was made for around $1 million, which is, I don't know if that's incorrect, but that's what I read, and it kind of blew my mind. And I mean, there is a pretty cool transformation scene in the third act that has a unique style, and I do dig that. Neil Jordan and main screenwriter Angela Carter worked well together, and it was Carter's first time actually writing a film. They wanted to collaborate more and were considering doing something with her Vampirella story, but her illness got in the way of that, which is a damn shame. That would have been really, really cool, I think. The Company of Wolves wasn't a massive success, but I mean, overall, I think it went over pretty well. It made $4 million in theaters, which, did double its budget. It also fared pretty well critically, from what I've seen, seeing mostly real positive reviews. I mean, Roger Ebert gave it a 3 out of 4 stars. I'm surprised you don't hear it mentioned very often. At least I don't. Even when, werewolf films are like the topic. And here's a fun fact I thought I had to include. All of the wolves in the film are actually Belgian shepherd dogs, which is kind of funny. I mean, I guess they kind of look like wolves. I mean, not that much, I don't think. Director Neil Jordan doesn't consider the movie to be a horror film, which I find kind of funny, but I digress. I'm giving The Company of Wolves a 6.5 out of 10. I'd recommend it to fans of gothic horror, especially Hammer films and the early, Universal stuff. And if you're a werewolf fan like me, definitely check it out. Cheers, guys.